Welcome all of you to verbal ability class. We know that verbal ability is very important in any kind of competitive exam. Now we are discussing basic grammar topics in verbal ability. Last day we had discussed verbs. So what are verbs type we discussed? I think you remember. I will give a quick overview. So basically we discussed verbs, that is action verb. Action verbs indicates like the types of verbs which means some kind of action. So any action like walk, read, write, run, any kind of action. Static verb. So what is static verb? Static verbs indicate some kind of verb which doesn't mean any kind of action. But like sing, sleep, this thing. Okay. Now we discussed regular verb. So what is regular verb? You have to understand, it's very easy to understand by the name only. Like regular, these verbs follow the regular rule. Suppose one verb has three form, I told you. Present, past, past participle, just a second. So present tense, if present tense is walk, past tense will be walked for regular verbs, because in regular verbs we add ed with the past tense. And past participle is also same verb. Now the present, past and past participle actually varies in different kind of verbs. So I told you that in regular verbs we generally add ed. So in irregular verb, it doesn't follow the regular rule. So you can understand by the name. So there are some kind of stop talking. So there are some kind of irregular verbs like eat, but if you write eat, it is completely wrong. That's why ate is the past tense and eaten is the past participle tense. But there are other irregular verbs too. So don't think that these two are the only example of irregular and irregular verbs, because there are some students who can think this, but please don't think this, because there are a lot of regular verbs and lot of irregular verbs. So I just give you two examples. Now transitive verb. Transitive verb has a direct object. Intransitive verb has no direct object. So what is the example? Suppose I ate a mango. So here ate is the verb and mango is the subject. Now if I write birds fly. So here there is no object, birds fly. So these are intransitive verbs. Now we discussed infinitives. What are infinitives? Infinitives are to plus what. So in infinitive we cannot change the verb form. The verb form will remain the same. Like to work and everything. These are infinitive. Phrasal verb is there. Phrasal verb is there when two different verbs are forming one new verb. Suppose turn off, go away. These are phrasal verbs. So these things we discussed last day. So today we will discuss phrasal verbs in a bit detail. So did you understand yesterday's topic? So what is phrasal verb? Take a note. Phrasal verb is like combines a normal verb with an adverb or a preposition to create an entirely new verbal phrase, the phrasal verb. The meaning of a phrasal verb is actually unrelated to the meanings of the words that comprise it. So I told you that phrasal verb is actually formed with one verb which should be there, and there be one preposition or adverb, but the meaning will totally change. You cannot relate the meaning with like with the main verb if you see a phrasal verb. So when used in a sentence, phrasal verbs act as the same as other verbs for conjugation and placement, although they do have special grammatical rules about word order, which we talk about below. So phrasal verbs can be conjugated in every type of verb form. So you can use it in any tense, past participle, any tense you can use it. You have to treat it as normal verb. So let's look at the phrasal verb get over as an example. The verb get alone means to acquire, uh, and the preposition over
Hello, sorry.
alone refers to being higher or going above something. So you can see the verb get over. Now get means acquire, and the preposition over alone usually refers to being higher or being going above something. So however you have put them together and the phrasal verb get over means to recover or overcome. A completely new definition that's separate from the definitions of get and over. So you can use get over just like a normal verb in any form or tense. Here are some quick examples. You can note it down. So simple past tense will be I had a flu just last week but got over it. To get will be turned into got. Infinitive should be to get over. He wrote a song to get over his grandmother's death. Gerund will be getting over. You have to use ing. In gerund, participle will be having finally gotten over. So in different tense, different forms, the phrasal verb is changing according to that. So simple past tense is I had the food, got over. Infinitive is to get over, and gerund is adding ing. Participle is gotten over. So how you have to conjugate a phrasal verb? So when a phrasal verb is used as the main verb of a sentence, to conjugate the verb part and leave the other words as they are. So simply use whatever form of the verb you would use if it were alone. So I get up at noon during the summer. However, this morning I got up at sunrise. I have gotten up early too many times this month. So according to the tense is changing, you can see. Notice how only word get changes, but the word up remains the same. So also notice how get an irregular verb uses its irregular forms to fit whatever tense it needs. So in this way, you can use phrasal verbs in all verb tenses, so you are able to communicate anything you want. The conjugation is important for maintaining verb tense consistency. So if you are using phrasal verbs in a list with other verbs, so there are some kind of phrasal verbs. So to better understand phrasal verbs, it helps to organize them into two pairs, transitive and intransitive, separable and inseparable. So phrasal verb can belong to only one of each pair. So what is transitive verb? What I said, anyone remembers?
I cannot allow other members now. I have to check the settings. Right now, I'm in the class. I cannot do anything now. And the students are not paying any attention to the class. So whenever I'm asking any question, they're not answering. So first do that. Then I will check the checking, like the setting. It's only 100 or 50. It doesn't like matter. But no one is answering any question. What is your name? You unmute yourself and first answer my question, that what is transitive verb? You have just written one number here, but first answer my question. Are you here to attend the class, or you are here to allow some other members? What is your purpose? Whatever you are seeing, it will help you. And nobody is interested. So what I told you, transitive verb has one direct object. So transitive phrasal verb has also the same thing, one direct object. Like Charlie couldn't put up with the mewing cats any longer. So intransitive phrasal are also same like intransitive verbs. So intransitive phrasal verbs do not have any direct object. Like what is the example? The regional director was late, so the sales team went ahead without her. Now, what is separable phrasal verb? Separable phrasal verbs, like with some transitive phrasal verbs, you can sometimes put the direct object in between the words. For example, PQ out. Sometimes we write verbs like this, not like side by side, but in different place. So here is an example, PQ up. Now there are, however, a few rules to follow with separable phrasal verbs. So pay attention to our next section. Like he forgot to shut lights off before he left. So see here, we are not writing here he forgot to shut off the light before he left. So you may write this, but you can also write this, that he forgot to shut the lights off. So what is inseparable phrasal verb? Inseparable phrasal verbs cannot be split up and must be used together. So some verbs are there which you cannot split up and you have to use it together. Like the wayward son carried on without his father. Take a look again. The word order with phrasal verbs. So most of the time the words that phrasal verbs stay together. So for intransitive and inseparable phrasal verbs, the word and the participle must go next to each other and should never be split up. Separable phrasal verbs follow different rules. However, for starters, separable phrasal verbs are always transitive. So they always have a direct object. So you can put the direct object in the middle of separable phrasal verbs, in between the verb and the participle. Most of the time, the words in a phrasal verb stay together. For transitive and intransitive phrasal verbs, the verb and the participle must go next to each other and should never be split up. The separable phrasal verbs follow different rules. However, for starters, separable phrasal verbs are always transitive, so they always have a direct object. So you can put the direct object in the middle of separable phrasal verbs like Augustus would never let Hazel down. So let down is the actual phrasal verb. Now Hazel is another word which you have put in the middle of this verb. Back up, support or defend someone. When the class was making fun of me, only the teacher backed me up. Break down, stop walking, especially when referring to machines. The ice cream machine at McDonald's is always breaking down. Call around, contact multiple people. These are some example of phrasal verbs. You can note it down. I'm giving you some time. So what we discussed some phrasal verbs, back up, break down, call around, calm down. These are some phrasal verbs. And we also discussed what are the types of phrasal verbs, separable, inseparable, and transitive, intransitive. And you can also change the tense and past tense, infinitive, gerund, participle. So these are phrasal verbs. You can also look at some other phrasal verbs, and you have to actually read it and you have to memorize it. Then you can like understand. I cannot show you in one class all the phrasal verbs, and you have to also practice. So if you have any query, please ask. What is phrasal verb? If I ask you, what is your answer?